Welcome to the recording of the Business Tools for Improved Sheep Performance webinar. This webinar was presented by Ian McLean from Bush Agribusiness on the 9th of December 2021. This is clip 4 of 8 and includes an example on how to use a stock return.
So this is a stock return many of you will be familiar with. Have the livestock classes down one side. You may call them something different, that's fine. Opening number here, annual purchase in, natural increase, and then we have transfers, which works well for some people. Other people find it quite confusing. I get confused by it where we have the movements of animals from one class to the next there, and then we have the sales in this column, deaths and closing. So the sales and deaths, are they before or after their transfer? When do you do the transfer? I think unless you're really clear on that, that can be a source of confusion. Another way to look at it is to track the animals by their age group or their tag colours. The advantage of this is that doesn't change through their life. The previous one, they go through being a weaner to a hogget or whatever classes you use. That changes. Whereas this one here, if they've got a purple tag, putting them in marking, then they're always a purple tag. It does make them a bit easier to track there. And we say, okay, what did we have at the start with purple tags, for instance? Sold 110, 56 died, and we've got 16, 15 left at the end of the year. We'll notice for these mature age groups, for ewes and wethers, there's nothing in the wether inventory there, but for ewes we have them all together. That's because once they get to that age, they're usually boxed up in a mob, kept separate. If you do keep them separate and have that age profile, that's excellent. Otherwise, you can put them in together like that. And here, the only transfer we've got is some ewes to mature ewes into the cull or cast for age category, where they'll be sold from there. If there's ones that are sold, if they're sold directly from the ewes, we don't have to do that, but if you do have some at the end of the year which are cast for age, that can go in there. So I just think this is an alternative way of doing it, being able to track them by the aged group or the tag colour, as that doesn't change. You may still want the classes in there, and you can do that. We're going to be in a different class at the end of the year than the start of the year, and these are the classes we had before, and as I said, you can use whatever classes you like as long as you're clear on what they are when they go from one to another. And you can say, okay, these purple tags started out as weaners and they finished up as hoggets, so you can still have that. It just helps you look at it in that way, which I think is an easier way of keeping track of records. So a couple of things to keep in mind is that the opening and closing numbers should match as close as possible. I know that getting 100% clean musters happens very rarely, and that you don't always do a muster on 30 June or the 31st of December, so you've got to go from your last known record, but as much as possible it should match what was in the paddock at the start of the end of the year. And I think you need one set of numbers. Maybe having one set of numbers for the taxman, one for the bank, and one for yourself with what's actually going on. Have one set of numbers which avoids confusion, and have these numbers on your books matched there. Then you achieve those things we talked about. You know your production, your income, your stocking rate, and that sort of thing. And we can divide this table up, the stock flow up into sources and uses. So your sources are your openings, your purchases, your natural increase and any transfers in. Uses of stock and transfers out, sales, deaths and closing. Need your flock to be able to reconcile by class or age group and overall. And for it to reconcile, the sources need to match the uses. So your opening purchases, natural increase and transfers in added up matches the transfers out, sales, deaths and closings. When that happens by class and overall, then the flock does reconcile. Another thing to consider is that the timing of weaning doesn't affect when drops included doing it this way. So these ones here in this example, if we assume it's an autumn lambing, we may not have weaned them by 30th of June, looking at my financial year. That doesn't matter. They're still there. We know that we've got them. If we don't know till after the end of the year, they're still about the same age even if we didn't get to them in time. So it is important that they are included. The timing of the event doesn't affect whether that age group is there or not. This is an example template. More rows can be included. If you've got that age profile you use to older age groups, included. If you breed some rams and you want to have more rows for rams, then that can be easily included as well. Can have more columns. For example, if you've got a couple of properties and you're transferring stock from one to the other, that can be transfer to property and transfer from other property included there. And recoveries. We wrote off animals last year and they've come back in. They can be included. It's got to be used sparingly, but they can be modified in that way. What we're wanting to get is, for the age groups or classes, however you do it, what you've got there at the start of the year, and being able to reconcile them over the year. So you've got all that matching. The opening and closing matches what's in the paddock, purchases and sales matches what came and went from the property, natural increase matches what was born, and deaths is often a calculated figure where it's the number that matches everything up, so it's the unknown because you never know exactly how many died. But over time, year to year it can vary, but over time, if we have everything reconciled, match the opening and closing to what was in the paddock, we will have a better estimate of deaths than just applying a death percentage to calculate the closing, because that can end up drifting a fair way from reality.
Thank you for watching this short clip. For more information, please visit www.leadingsheep.com.au.